Welcome coders. In this video we shall learn about AWS Glue. This tutorial will be a basic fundamental of AWS Glue and I will give you the theoretical idea how Glue works and what is Glue and all sort of those. Now in my upcoming videos I shall go into different topics of Glue, how to create ETL task, what is Glue, what is data catalog, what is crawler, all concepts you will find in this playlist. Now why I am creating a video on Glue, because how much I have read in the internet, many publishers or many YouTubers, they haven't completed the whole cycle of AWS Glue. Somewhere they have left many of the blank points which I need to cover and where I got stuck actually. Now I took around 45 days to understand those concepts, so I hope you will like it. So let's begin with our video. Now I have published one article of AWS Glue in my website, that is the siliconboard.com. I will give that link in the description section below. There you can read the blog site of it. Now in the video I shall explain you what is the whole story, because in video it's very easy to understand for the newcomers, and for the next time you don't have to watch my video. You can directly go to my blog and read whatever I am speaking in the YouTube video. Now AWS Glue basically is a service where you can, I would like to reframe it. AWS Glue is a serverless service where you can build ETL task. Now ETL task means extract, transform, load. Extract, as you know, there will be a data source. From there our program will read the data, then it will transform. Transform means there will be some mathematical formula that will get applied on that specific data, then we will load into a target location. Now this is ETL. So here I have explained that there can be three kind of jobs like ETL job. One is extract, transform and load. Now in Glue there are multiple components. Now why the name Glue came at the first place? Because there are multiple components and those components are very tightly coupled. Now first is crawler. Now crawler is a program that will go into a data set, or you can say that will go into a data source. That may be a CSV file, that may be a MySQL table, and it will extract all the metadata about that specific table. Now that is crawler. I will repeat again, crawler will go into that program, into that data set or database, and it will extract the metadata. Now it can be a CSV file where you will go and it will extract. Now what basically happens is that crawler will go into that, let's say there is a CSV file, it will extract the column name, it will extract the column types. It's a date type, int type or float type. It's a string. Now those metadata will be extracted. Now there is a one more concept, that is data classifier. Now sometimes what happens, crawler can't directly get the column names because it can't classify. Now classifier comes into the picture. If we define a classifier, now in simple terms, classifier will help us, or a classifier will help crawler to understand what are those column names and what are those column types. So if there is a CSV file, then we have to manually create a CSV classifier, so that when the crawler will run, you will get the perfect column names and column types, which will not be possible if we haven't declared any data classifiers. So that is about classifier. Now database and table. Now this is a very much tricky part of AWS Glue. People think that in Glue there is a table and there is a database, but that is not the case. Database and table, they are called, you can say a virtual table, or you can say they are pseudo tables. They are tables, but tables that doesn't exist. Now what happens is that there will be a table, there will be a database, but the AWS engine will point to that specific data source location. Let's say you have a CSV file in a specific bucket, so we will point our AWS engine to that specific AWS S3 bucket, and those things will be mapped, those column names will be mapped to the database and its table. So those mapping will be done by the crawler, because first we need to run a crawler, then crawler will hit data classifier will create all those column names, column types. Those things will be moved to tables. Now table will have those column names, and that is, now when you will have multiple sources, when you will have multiple crawlers pointing to different services of different services of AWS, because there is a, you can say first crawler is pointing to a CSV file, second crawler is pointing to RDS, third crawler is pointing to DynamoDB. So it will extract data from multiple sources and it will create those many tables, those many columns based on the specification we had made. Now that is called data catalog. Catalog is a kind of a magazine where it will have the metadata of all the database or all the data that we have gathered from the different sources. That is data catalog. Now there is two confusing terms, that is data source and data stores. When a crawler goes to a specific location and creates a metadata, then we use data store. And what are the data sources? Data sources are, basically data source term is used when we write an ETL task either using Visual Editor or using notebook. During that time we use data source from where our notebook or from where our Python or PySpark engine will extract that data. In those situations we use data source. Now there is a famous diagram of AWS that is also there in AWS official website, where you can find data crawler, there is a data source, and there is a data catalog, which I have already mentioned. Data catalog is a kind of a magazine where it has all the information about the data, or you can say that it has the information about the metadata. All the metadata informations are stored in the data catalog, and just down below you can see there is a data source and transform. Under transform you can see that there is a script. So this means that this script will transform the original data and it will load into a different target. Now this target can be same as source, or target can be a different location altogether. Now according to my experience, the newbies in AWS Glue should not get into the all details, because I found that this diagram is bit confusing and it is bit difficult to understand for a newbie. You just understand that there will be a transformation from the source to destination. There is a data catalog that stores the metadata of the underlying data that are there in the different points of AWS, like RDS, CSV file, or DynamoDB. There is no actual table and database in Glue. What are the tables that are being created? You can go to Athena and there you can write SQL like queries, even if your underlying data is in a CSV file. All those things I have explained in my Athena video. You can go there and have a look on it. So once we have done our extract, transform, load, now in terms of extract, as I have explained in the first phase of my video, that during the time of extraction we go to a specific data source and we create a data frame. Now I will make a separate video on dynamic data frame, because AWS uses dynamic data frame and it has some extra advantage over other data frames. And after AWS has that dynamic data frame, then we execute the transformation operations on that specific dynamic data frame. Now there can be multiple transformations that can take place. That is, we can drop columns, we can apply some mathematical operations on that data column wise or row wise. Now once that is done, we can load the data into our intended location. That can be a CSV file, that RDS, DynamoDB, whatever. So now question is that how ETL job is done. Look, ETL job in AWS Glue can be done using two ways. There is a visual editor where you will drag and drop the nodes and you will have to configure those nodes, and in those nodes you will specify the location, you will specify the metadata. You don't have to specify. AWS will extract that metadata because those metadata are already there in the catalog. So once you drag and drop those nodes, then you have to configure it, and you will run your job and it will transform. That is one part. The other part is that notebook. As I said that AWS Glue, just under the hood it uses PySpark. So we will write our code in PySpark and it will use notebook, and there you can find multiple functions which will be helpful to write your ETL job. Now notebook is very much useful when you will have a very minute control over the data transformations, which is also there because in Visual Editor there are many transformation options, but you have to find it. Coding you can write whatever you like and it will run. That is one point. Now AWS Glue is very much essential for data engineers because ETL job, Glue is the best service inside AWS to do the ETL job. There is a problem though. We can do the ETL job using Lambda also, because in Lambda also we can go to S3 bucket, we can extract the data from DynamoDB, RDS everywhere, and we can do our operations and we can store into some other place. But there is few problems in Lambda, that in Lambda we cannot configure the underlying hardware, what is the power of hardware that is being used, that we cannot configure in Lambda. And in Lambda there is no visual editor, so you have to write your own code to do that job. But AWS Glue is specifically made for ETL job. So I know this video is completely a storytelling kind of stuff, but in my upcoming videos I will go through each and every detailed explanations. My next video will be on AWS crawler, how to make crawler, how to create data classifiers, and you will know why we are exactly making all those stuff. So this is my video on AWS Glue introduction. Please look to my blogs. There you will have the written version of it. Till then, thank you. Goodbye.